And then the Cisco iOS itself has some secure management features. We already talked a little bit about SSH Secure Shell. It's got a really strong authentication type, and it's encrypted, uses port 22. It's very difficult to, even if you are able to, grab some of the packets going across on an SSH connection to break those down and see what was going on. So that's why SSH is always recommended whenever possible. Simple Network Management Protocol, SNMP. This can be used for a very, very wide range of services. Primarily, it's used for monitoring network and managing configurations. It collects statistics to analyze network performance and security. Version 3 is actually preferred for security because it allows for authentication and encryption. Version 1 and 2 did not have that. So just like SSH has encryption and Telnet does not, version 3 of SNMP has encryption, whereas the previous versions did not. And it uses generally UDP port 161. And keep using the NOC as an example. You guys may know on some of our clients that have dynamic IPs through a third-party carrier, a lot of times we'll set up an SNMP trap on those so that it sends the IP to a server on our side so that we can monitor the IP on that, since we won't necessarily know what the IP is otherwise unless the router sends us some kind of a notification to tell us what it is. And then the syslog, we talked a little bit about this again a minute ago with the AAA. Log messages collected and sent to a syslog server. The log messages have different security levels, so you can, based on the security levels, you can set them to trap for different things. Table 4.3, I don't actually have it pulled up in the book, has some examples of like what those different security levels are, and it generally uses UDP port 514. And then Network Time Protocol, NTP, synchronizes clocks and uses UDP port 123. NTP is actually really helpful because like if you have an attack, especially like on our core backbone network, that kind of thing, if you have an attack, you need to be able to go back through the logs and determine like when things happen. And if you don't have a static set of time protocols throughout the network, you're just going to be doing all these conversions. Like, well, this Cisco is on this time, and this Cisco is 45 minutes off from it, and keep going through that. So that's why NTP is really important. And then encryption protocols, SSH keeps coming up over and over and over. Internet protocol security, you guys know about this already. IPsec, we do that a lot for our customers with public IPs that aren't on the MPLS network. And then SSL, the secure socket layer, which is application layer security. We've got a whole group up in Seattle that handles a whole host of advanced SSL services that we offer to some of our customers. Security appliances and applications. Man, they've got whole books on this stuff. Again, whenever you go into the CCSP, your firewall, we've already kind of talked about a little bit. What we haven't talked about are the IPS and IDS, intrusion prevention system and intrusion detection system, and those are exactly what they sound like. An intrusion prevention system is an active device. It's an inline with the path of traffic. So you'll have this sitting somewhere likely between your access CPE and the main router for your network. And what it does is it listens to traffic, and based on some of the rules in there, it can actually dynamically create and modify a firewall to block attacks as they happen. So that's kind of cutting edge, at least a little bit on the security side. And then an intrusion detection system, all it does is detects the intrusion. It doesn't do any kind of dynamic firewall changing to try to block anything out. It's a passive device. It can be in line with the traffic like an IPS, but it doesn't have to be. It listens to all traffic promiscuously, and it generates alerts and issues TCP resets in the event that something happens. And that is it for Chapter 4, and I should have brought a water with me. Does anybody have any questions on Chapter 4? General networking security.
One question.
Yes.
It's Chapter 4 related to work, kind of.
Okay.
So I've seen sometimes if we get into a Utopia for customer, check the logs and see just flooded with telnet attempts from just random IPs. would that be one of attacks?
I mean, it could be, like, depending on like the firewall that's set up on the router, it should actually be able to deny those attacks before they even come in, because they have to be coming from an IP that is in the ACL to access it. On a Cisco, I've got a little bit more confidence that that's going to be set up correctly. On a Utopia, I really don't. So, I mean, some of the times those could be attacks, but I wouldn't necessarily just assume
What we're seeing is in Utopia sometimes we're getting, they're coming from like China, Africa, just like the same IP. Doesn't.
Oh, you're seeing like foreign, like completely foreign.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like an attack,
Yeah,
or an
that
attempted
sounds-
attack,
yeah,
definitely. Yeah. That's. Yeah, especially if it's coming from overseas, like
Yeah.
man, China in particular. Yeah, that's like.
I've seen one where it's like, you know, you do a errand lookup on the IP, and then you get like Russia,
Mhm.
China, Japan.
Yeah.
It's like all in the same device, like in a row.
Yeah, if you see it in the device, but you're not seeing any packet loss or latency, it's probably the middleman attack.
Yeah, that's definitely.
Yeah, I see that sometimes on like a bouncing side or something. And
So they're just getting so many. I mean, I guess it's possible they're getting so many attempted telnet sessions that it's just almost like a TCP SYN attack, you know? Because that's going to be a TCP based connection. So if you get enough of those, it's going to flood it to the point that it could potentially drop. But like I said, if it's set up properly, I've got a lot more confidence in a Cisco, the firewall being correct. But if it's set up correctly, it shouldn't even really get to the point where it can really initiate telnet, because the firewall should be blocking it altogether. So you wouldn't, if this is like a TCP SYN attack type of scenario, you wouldn't really have to worry about it, because the firewall is blocking it out before you can worry about like those SYN packets filling up the queue. But if it's an Utopia, check the settings, check to make sure that it matches the current configuration, and that you can't access it by telnet from just like your home IP or something like that. I mean, or any kind of outside IP. It should only be like blue or gold, or on the .4 network, that kind of thing.
Always check the CPU usage too. Set up like 90% or 80%.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Like if you're getting that many, especially like on TCP initiation sessions, if you're getting that many, like a crazy number, the proc's going to go up, depending on how bad it is. So.
Going back to your example with the SNMP configuration in the Utopias, you're saying they use UDP, right?
Yes.
It's connectionless?
Yes. Not connection oriented. So.
Which is why there's not a whole lot of reliability with that.
Right. Yeah. Like I guess it's the best solution we can offer, since there's gonna be some customers that all we can provide them with is a dynamic IP, but they're just not on the network. We can't give them a static. But yeah, since it's UDP based, if there's a change in IP, most of the time it's going to get there. I mean, it's just because UDP isn't connection oriented doesn't mean it's like completely unreliable. It just means that if the network's up and all network services between there and the box are up, it should get there. But I guess there's situations where you might lose a packet or it might not get through. So it being UDP based definitely has an impact. If SNMP or you had some other kind of protocol that basically did the same thing that was TCP based, I don't think you would see that many failures like we do. And that's why you reboot the device, a lot of times it'll get a new IP, or even the same IP but send out the SNMP trap again, and you'll get the correct device and monitoring.
Your favorite port to this day is 666, right?
Sure.
For Doom. It's one for Doom.
Is it?
Yeah, you're using
Oh man, I haven't played that since 1991. I did spend. Yeah, I still remember some of the cheat codes. idclip did something, and it's been a long time since I played, but I did waste quite a bit of my life on it.